بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. To proceed. So today inshallah we will go over 2 chapters and we'll try to go a little bit faster because we are behind on schedule. So despite the fact that we have been, effectively going through the document, but we're still behind schedule. So we will go over Rada, which is breastfeeding, today inshallah, and the next chapter will be marriage to non-Muslims. So as far as Rada is concerned, at the beginning of every chapter I added an introduction because one of the problems that happened historically to us as Muslims is that we've separated the laws from their wisdoms, and that is because our great predecessors, the scholars, of great stature, and we always have to speak about them in respect, with respect, and they were addressing a group, like when they wrote Fiqh books, when they wrote on laws, how many people were actually reading at the time? What is the percentage of people who were actually reading, let alone reading those particular books, but reading to begin with? It was a much smaller number. So the people that were eventually going to read those books were people that were already acquainted with the sciences of Islam. So they are people who also have some knowledge about the wisdoms and some knowledge about, more context, more than just the technicalities of the law. And so they were addressing those people. However, nowadays, it would be really very ineffective teaching to write a fiqh books without addressing the wisdoms of legislation and without addressing the misconceptions and so on within the same book. That is because a lot of people are reading and not all of them have professional training in the Islamic sciences. And not all of them get to attend lectures because also the people there were a lot less people reading, but there were a lot more people attending lectures in the masajid by the scholars. So in those lectures, I'm quite sure that they elaborated further on the wisdoms and they shed more light on the beauty of the legislation. So that's why I have an introduction at the beginning that is not really explaining anything the author said, because the author did not address the wisdoms of legislation in this book, but I found it to be important. So the concept of Rada itself, or breastfeeding, is basically a beautiful concept because it results in extension of the bond, of kinship. That is what Rada is about. You're actually extending the bond of kinship beyond the blood kinship in a very beautiful way and in a very effective way. So now you have an orphan. It does not only pertain to orphans, but orphans are certainly the primary beneficiary of this system. If you have an orphan that lost his mother, now he can have an alternative family, a foster family, a milk family. I'm just calling it milk family, milk mother, milk father for the purpose of simplicity here in the book. There is no such word in English, no such word, but you could make your own words of this. So that milk family will become an alternative family to that child, and you could basically have this child grow up in this household without any limitations, zero limitations. Why? Because once this child breastfeeds from the mother, and by the way, just to be fair in our commentary, this happens from the first breastfeeding according to the Malikis and Hanafis, and that is basically about 70% of the Ummah in terms of size, in terms of population. Hanafis and Malikis have been about 70% of the Ummah traditionally. If you look at the map and you look at the Muslim population throughout the world, North Africa is predominantly Maliki. The subcontinent is predominantly Hanafi. So you have the areas of strong presence of other madhahib would be the Far East, that's Indonesia, Malaysia, and those areas, that's Shafi'i, and East Africa also is Shafi'i, predominantly Shafi'i. The Jazeera al-Arabiya now is predominantly Hanbali. But historically the Hanbali presence was more in Greater Syria, Sham, the Levant, that is all of the Sham, had a pretty considerable Hanbali presence, as well as Iraq. But the Hanbali presence basically faded out in Iraq and Sham in the last 200 years and became concentrated in the Jazeera al-Arabiya. So anyway, going back to the topic, so it happens from the first time according to the Hanafis and Malikis. The 5 sucklings is according to the Shafi'is and Hanbalis. And I believe in the strength of the position of the Shafi'is and Hanbalis. It does not mean it is right in the absolute sense, but it means I believe strongly that it is right. And there is a huge difference between the two. So this extension of the bond of kinship is a very effective way of basically embracing those orphans and providing them with alternative families. And I would suggest this system as an alternative to adoption. This is our Islamic alternative of adoption. And even, and you will come to know here that the mother does not need the mother does not need to have a child to breastfeed. They will talk here about al-Fiqh, the virgin breastfeeding, and that this will actually result in prohibition according to the position chosen by Ibn Qudamah, and this prohibition will be extended to her family. So you don't need to have another child. You could have the milk produced by natural ways or medical pharmacological interventions, and then breastfeed, and then in this case the prohibition will be extended and the child will have a family. Imam Ibn Qudamah said, حكم الرضاع حكم النسب في التحريم والمحرمية. The restrictions of marriage and the bond of relationship that result from breastfeeding are the same like those that result from consanguinity or blood relationship, blood kinship. And I told you that what you need to do is what? Transplant that child into the new family. The new family will not be transplanted into the child's family. So here is a child. Here is like a mother, a father, a mother. They have a child. That child. And here is a mother, a father, a mother. Children. Okay, biological children. That child will this mother, you take that child and you transplant him here. He becomes a full-blown member of this family. His family has nothing to do with this business, all of this business. So his father could marry anyone here. He has nothing to do with this business. However, the progeny of this child will belong with the progeny, the child and the progeny. This unit will belong here and belong here, will belong to both families, not vice versa. You know? So the biological father of the child could marry anyone from the milk family because he has nothing to do with this. It was the child that got transplanted into the milk family. Okay, so keeping this in mind, that would be the only difference between consanguinity and rada. Because in consanguinity, that does not happen. You know, everybody becomes now involved. But in rada, it is only the child that breastfed that will have all of these restrictions of mahramiyya applied, and concessions of mahramiyya applied, also restrictions in the sense that he cannot marry, but concessions in the sense that he can, be around his sisters and without need for hijab. Okay, so now everything that will apply to kinship will apply to rada, with this one difference that we pointed out. And now the question is, what about the bond of marriage? Because we said that mahramiyya, or the state of mahram, is established not only through blood kinship, but also through the bond of marriage. What about the bond of marriage? This is a little bit controversial. And the reason why it's controversial, the reason why anything would be controversial, is that this text of the Revelation was not completely decisive on the matter in terms of implications. So the Prophet ﷺ said, يَحْرُمُ مِنَ الرَّضَاعِ مَا يَحْرُمُ مِنَ النَّسَبِ. Whatever restrictions will be caused by nasab, not musahara. He did not say musahara. He said nasab, which is blood kinship, will be caused by rada' or breastfeeding. Now the scholars will come afterwards and say, does this also apply to the bond of marriage? Meaning, can I marry? Let us say this child here is a girl, okay? And that girl later on married a man. Can this man marry her milk mother? Okay. No, but it is not a consensus. Why? Because that prohibition is established through musahara, not kinship. That milk mother is not biologically related. There is no blood relationship between that milk mother and her milk daughter. So the husband of the milk daughter has no sort of biological link to that woman. However, our four imams and four madhahib, and for all practical purposes, you remember that this is the position, of Ahl Sunnah. There is difference within Ahl Sunnah, but for all practical purposes, just remember that the four imams said that he cannot marry her because they decided, by means of extrapolation, analogical extrapolation, to make musahara or the marriage bond just like nasab in this regard. So as if the Prophet ﷺ said, يحرم من الرضاعة ما يحرم من النسب والمصاهرة. But he did not say والمصاهرة. He just said النسب. But the scholars, the four imams, the four mazahib, by analogical extrapolation, added the musahara, which is the marriage relationship. This marriage, and then, certainly we did not discuss when she breastfeeds a child, while being married to this man, then there is no question here. Why? Because this man would be called the fertilizer, for lack of a better word. He is the one who caused the production of milk. But if this woman now got married to another man and she breastfed a child while married to this other man, and now she married this fellow here, can he marry her milk daughter with another man? No. According to the form of that, it would be another no. But this is not a matter of consensus, like I said. Huh? No, we're not talking about consummation yet. We're not talking about the technicality of consummation. We're just talking about this woman here got married to this man. While she's married to him, she breastfed this girl. She divorced that man. Then she got married to this one. Then let us say that this man divorced her. Can he go back and marry her milk daughter?
That's just stuff.
Not a consensus, but according to the form of that, no, he cannot. The same way he cannot marry her milk mother. He will not be able to marry her milk daughter. Not a consensus, but the position of the form of that. Because the Prophet did not explicitly say that. Because he did not say that radar or breastfeeding would cause the same restrictions that marriage causes. Only bondship, biological bondship or blood kinship. But the scholars add marriage to this. So, for practical purposes, just remember, breastfeeding will cause the same restrictions, blood kinship, and marriage cause. And that is the position of the four imams and the four mazahib. Yes?
And what if he doesn't consummate with the mother? With the milk mother?
What if he does not consummate with the milk mother? Then the rules about consummation will apply. If he does not consummate with the milk mother, then he can marry the daughter. Always, the rules of consummation will apply. Certainly. Hopefully that is clear. I'm not very good at drawings, but drawing. Then, so Imam Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah is the one who disagreed, and he said that the Prophet did not say musahara, so we will limit it just to nasab. But the position of the four Imams and the four Mazahib extends the mahramiyya or the restrictions to marriage also, relationships. Then Imam Ibn Qudamah said, فَمَتَى أَرْضَعَتِ الْمَرْأَةُ طِفْلًا صَارَ ابْنًا لَهَا وَلِلرَّجُلِ الَّذِي ثَابَ اللَّبَنُ بِوَطْئِهِ فَيَحْرُمُ عَلَيْهِ كل من يحرم على ابنهما من النسب وإن أرضعته طفلة صارت بنتا لهما تحرم على كل من تحرم عليه ابنتهما من النسب لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يحرم من الرضاعة ما يحرم من النسب. Once a woman breastfeeds a child, he becomes a son to her and the man who caused the production of the milk. This would make the restrictions of marriage for that boy like those if he were the real son. If the woman breastfeeds a female infant, she also becomes a daughter to them both, with all restrictions of marriage applying to her as if she is their real daughter. This is because of the saying of the Messenger of Allah, breastfeeding results in the same restrictions caused by consanguinity, or blood relationship, or blood kinship. And I told you that the difference between the prohibition of breastfeeding and consanguinity, the only difference is that it is only the child that is being restricted, the child who breastfed from that family. There is no relationship between the ancestors and siblings of that, the biological ancestors and siblings of that child and the breastfeeding family. No relationship. Okay, and then does the man, the husband now, she is married and she breastfed. There does not need to be pregnancy, by the way, for this for this mahramiyya to take effect or for the restrictions to apply. So the man does not need to get her pregnant in order for us to cause that he is the one who caused the production of the milk. Even if she did not get pregnant, but she was able to extract some milk or to breastfeed some baby, while married to that man becomes a father to that baby. Okay, the legally, and then Imam Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah said, وَالْمُحَرَّمُ مِنَ الرَّضَاعِ ما دخل الحلق من اللبن سواء دخل بارتضاع من الثدي أو وجور أو صعود محضا كان أو مشوبا إذا لم يستهلك. So the legally prohibited breastfeeding is whatever milk that enters the throat, whether by suckling or through drenching, pouring milk into the throat, or nasal feeding, and whether it was pure or mixed, as long as it is not completely consumed into the other substance. Because this is important, because when we come to talking about Rada' al-Kabir, or breastfeeding and the mature, person past infancy, breastfeeding past the infancy, then some people will wonder how could it happen. But it is, you do not need to breastfeed by suckling from the breast directly. If the milk was extracted and given to the child through any means, then it will cause the prohibition. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يحرم من الرضاع إلا ما فتق الأمعاء وأنشز العظم أو أنبت اللحم. That nothing will cause the restrictions except the feeding that will expand the stomach and cause the bones to grow. If you feed someone through the nasal route, does that do the same thing? It does. And if you feed someone through, with after extraction of the milk without suckling from the breast, that causes the same thing? Yes?
Imam, there is a new I would say, way of feeding. There are some women now, especially in South America, they are extracting the breast milk and they're selling it. prescribing these, called the breast bank, breast milk bank.
Yeah.
So, what happened to these adults? Because you really don't know what it is.
So the breast milk bank, this issue was discussed by the Fiqh Assembly of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and they banned it because of the problem that it may result in. This is basically sort of relationships that are not traceable, so it's causing relationships that will be hard to trace. But the concept itself can be done Islamically as long as everything is strictly labeled, strictly identified and labeled. In this case, it will be fine. We know which one fit who, and it would be fine. But to do this would be extremely difficult logistically. And there is no need for it, in all honesty. I mean, if someone does not have a mother to feed him, then another mother would feed him. And if that mother is not going to, if she does not want to nurse him, she can extract the milk and give it to him, that particular infant, and we're done. But everything needs to be institutionalized nowadays and commercialized also. And that is, it is fine, institutionalization is fine, but to commercialize that concept is not really proper. This is a sacred relationship, and it should be treated as such. Yes?
What is the age limit for breastfeeding?
This is common, the age limit. Okay, so وَلَا يُحَرِّمُ إِلَّا بِشُرُوطٍ ثَلَاثٍ. It does not cause the restrictions except upon the fulfillment of three conditions. أحدها أن يكون لبن امرأة بكر كانت أو بكرا كانت أو ثيبة في حياتها أو بعد موتها. فأما لبن البهيمة أو الرجل أو الخنثى المشكل فلا يحرم شيئا. First, it should be human milk of a woman, whether she is previously married or not, during her life or after her death. As for the milk of the beasts and men and the ambiguous hermaphrodite, they are all not legally prohibitive, not legally consequential. So, it has to be the milk that will cause the prohibitions, has to be the milk of a woman. Can a man produce milk? Yes, in certain diseases. And that is why it does not cause any prohibition, because that is not normal. Because you think that this guy, and it's a little bit too trivial. He said not a beast. And, too trivial. How could a beast cause prohibitions? I got this question. Someone approached me and asked me, we gave this child milk from our jamusa, which is buffalo. Would this cause any restriction, mahramiyya? I had this question. And this is not this is a completely serious person who was asking a very honest, candid question. Okay, so if it comes across the mind of someone, the scholars volunteered to tell us, to give us the answer. Yes?
But I don't get, he's asking what? Can he marry the buffalo? Or?
No. This is a buffalo. This is, okay. This is okay. A buffalo that we own. There are two versions of this question. Two versions. Now we have a boy and a girl breastfeeding from one buffalo. Are they brother and sister? And that may sound a little bit more serious, but they are not brother and sister. But that may sound a little bit more serious. But you have a family that owns a buffalo and then an infant nursed from this buffalo. Will that family be related to that infant because they are the owners of the buffalo or the cow? So, it makes sense. The sister is saying it makes sense because everybody is drinking from that same cow every day. So that is the rationale. The rationale is that if milk is causing an issue here, some relationship here, then it can also happen if we both drink from the same buffalo.
No, I said it doesn't make sense.
Oh, it doesn't make sense, you said. Well, to some people it does. Anyway.
Then we'd all be related.
Huh?
Then we'd all be related.
Then we will all be related?
Because we drink from the same milk supply.
No, but, certainly not, because it's... Yeah. Anyway, so she has to be a woman, and it did not say here whether she is a Muslim or non-Muslim woman because there is no difference here. A Muslim woman could nurse a non-Muslim infant and vice versa, which tells you that these relationships are just part of the general kindness that is extended to all humanity regardless of their faith. So that is the first one. It is the breast milk of a woman. And that woman does not have to be married and does not have to be pregnant or nursing another child of her own or anything. الثاني أن يكون في الحولين لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يحرم أو لا يحرم من الرضاع إلا ما فتق الأمعاء وكان قبل الفطام. The second, it should be within the first 2 years for the statement of the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, breastfeeding is not legally consequential except if it dilates the stomach or expands the stomach and happens before the age of weaning. Happens before weaning. So 2 years. And the 2 years, and Allah said, وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ, and Allah said, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضَعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ الْوَالِدَاتُ وَالْوَالِدَاتُ Surah Al-Baqarah, mothers breastfeed their infants حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ 2 full years for one who wants to complete the term of breastfeeding. And there is an indication here that you should not really be breastfeeding after 2 years. And I often get, particularly from non-Muslims, particularly from the Hispanic community, they're very compassionate, caring mothers, very protective, sometimes overprotective, and they want to sometimes breastfeed beyond the 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Which would be unhealthy for the child, unhealthy for the psychological sort of maturity of the child, I believe. But I believe it strongly because the ayat are very clear that whoever wants to complete the term may breastfeed until 2 years, but nothing beyond 2 years, because the term is completed by 2 years. So the Prophet ﷺ said this, and the 4 Imams agreed to some extent with slight variations, and I did not add the variations in your document, but so the 2 years, precisely would be the Shafi'i plus the Hanbali plus the Hanafi position, by the way, even though it's not the position of Imam Ibn Qudamah, by the way, which tells you the difference between being the Hanafi position and being Abu Hanifa's position, rahimahullah. Imam Abu Hanifa said up to 30 months, which is 2.5 years, and the Maliki position is 26 months. And why did they add 2 months? Like as a margin of safety, cushion, I don't know of any like traceable evidence on this particular position, the 26 months in terms of textual evidence. But this is basically 26 according to the Malikis. According to the rest, it is 2 years precisely. And the Hanafi position in this regard is the position of Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan, as-Sahibayn, the 2 disciples, because they departed from Imam Abu Hanifa's position concerning this matter. And this happens a lot in all of the madhahib. So when you say this is the Hanafi position, does not necessarily mean it is the position of Imam Abu Hanifa, although most of the time it will be, but it is not necessary. Our great Imams were not zealous. They were not narrow-minded. They were very open-minded. They were very impartial and accepting of the evidence whenever it comes and wherever it comes from. Okay. Now, the issue of Rada al-Kabir or breastfeeding beyond infancy, given all of this, evidence, Allah said up to 2 years, the Prophet ﷺ, there is a hadith by Ibn Abbas with controversial authenticity in which Abdullah ibn Abbas said, which should be traced up to the Prophet ﷺ, La rada'a illa fil hawlayn, there is no rada'a except in the 2 years, except in the first 2 years. And that hadith is basically a nas of mawda' al-niza' if it happened, which means like an explicit text on the subject matter of the controversy, unless, except that it has some issue with its transmission. But where did the issue of Rada' al-Kabir come from? This is a big controversy, it happened in some Muslim countries recently, where there was a big controversy concerning this issue. Because we had a professor in Al-Azhar, he was a professor of Hadith in Al-Azhar, who came out and said, we're having all of this problem because there are a lot of men and women sharing the same cubicles or same rooms at work. So why don't they just breastfeed their co-workers and then we just get that problem fixed? Because there would be no concern about khalwa. And then certainly we just people like, those fatwa because it is like bread and butter for them. So if you are a comedian or you are like a broadcaster or a journalist, you do need to look for things to make your living. But anyway, so certainly there was like a storm of rejection and accusations of all kinds of things from all directions, and that's when conservative Muslims and secular people and everybody joins forces to attack this guy. So why did he say this? First of all, this is not really completely far-fetched with zero foundation. Some people said that in the past. Aisha said that in the past. Ibn Hazm, a great scholar, said that in the past. That breastfeeding beyond the infancy will cause prohibition. Breastfeeding beyond infancy will cause prohibition. And that is because Muslim reported from Aisha radiallahu anha that the wife of Huzaifa, radiallahu anhu, came to the Prophet ﷺ and told him that Salim, which used to be their adoptee before the prohibition of adoption was revealed, grew up and now he has a mustache and, adoption has been prohibited, what we're going to do is sell him. We raised him, we took care of him as a child. So the Prophet ﷺ said to her, أرضعيه تحرمي علي. أرضعيه تحرمي علي. So breastfeed him. And then you become, consequently, you become haram for him, haram to marry, meaning mahram. Very simple. So now Salim, it was old, and the Prophet said that. So how are we going to reconcile? So the four Imams reconciled by saying that this must have happened before the prohibition. You have a conflict. So you're trying to resolve the conflict. So everybody tries to resolve the conflict. So two things the four Imams said, or the four Mazahib said, or the official position in the four Mazahib upheld. One, abrogation, which is a little bit hard because abrogation you do need to establish the chronologic order, and that would be a little bit hard here. The second one is that this was a special peculiarity of the situation. This is an anecdote, and this is special ruling for this particular family. Special ruling for this particular family. Okay. The position I believe in, and this is not because of my love for Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, although I don't hide it, but it is the position of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. He said that we will apply the default all the time, except in a situation that is very comparable to the situation of Salim. In a situation that is very comparable to the situation of Salim. Let us say a Christian couple converted to Islam and they have an adopted child. Shall we tell them now, get rid of him or her? Or do we provide them with the same solution? So we provide them with the same solution. According to Ibn Qudamah, he said that this situation would be very comparable to the situation of Salim. Another situation that would be very comparable to the situation of Salim is when you have orphans that are a little bit past the 2 years. You have like a 3-year-old orphan. When we had the kids come over from Albania and Kosovo prior to this, Bosnia and Herzegovina, they were picked up by a lot of churches. So Muslim families usually have this discomfort with taking care of a child because of the issue of mahramiyya later on in life. But in a circumstance of this nature and of this gravity, I believe that we could make use of this position. So it will never be the default. The default is only the 2 years, but it will be the exception if we have a situation that is comparable to the situation of Salim and Abu Hudayfa's family. And that would be the summary of that. And I think in this case, it would not raise eyebrows. I mean, if I say to like a Christian couple that are coming, and they have an adopted child, well, breastfeed him, he'll be your child. There will be no limitations in this regard. That should not raise eyebrows. It's very comparable to the situation of Salim. So someone may say, well, but how could she breastfeed like a grown-up man? You do not need to breastfeed. You need to provide breast milk. There is a difference. If you extract the milk and provided in a cup, that will work. Yes.
Sometimes you ask one of the aunt or to breastfeed you, so you will be your sister, and this will solve the issue if the woman is big and she don't have milk. She'll ask her sister to feed him, and he will be her sister.
Yes.
This will solve.
Will solve it partially. So the sister is saying, if you have, so this family here, and this woman cannot produce breast milk, but this woman, has a sister. So she asks the sister to breastfeed an infant. This infant will be haram or mahram for her. Why? Because she is his aunt. Right? It solves the problem partially because it will not make this man a father. So had this infant been a girl, this man will have a problem here with this girl.
What they do, if it's a boy, they will ask the mother family to find someone to breast him, and if he is a girl, he will ask one of his family.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So the only way in this case is to have her breastfeed, so that have someone from the mother's family breastfeed the boy and someone from the father's family breastfeed the girl, or to have someone from here and here breastfeed, and then you will solve the problem to a great extent. Now, does that completely solve the problem? Yes, if that couple will take care of that child alone and there are no siblings. So let us say a couple who do not have a child, who, Allah did not provide them with kids, and they want to have a child, they could do this. But if this is a couple with kids, and they want to adopt an orphan or care for an orphan, they want to care for an orphan, this will not resolve the whole problem because of the problem between the siblings will not be resolved. Right? Because if her sister nurses this girl can marry her son because they're cousins. They're not brothers and sisters. So to some extent it would, but you do see that it does really provide a lot of solutions. You just need to be creative about it. So the only case where we want this woman to actually extract milk, and we want to give her medicine or something of that nature is this case, or if she really wanted to become a mother versus an aunt. Yes?
Situation, if a father who has kids marries another woman, not the mother of the kids, and she has kids, can the father's kids breastfeed from the new mother, or would that be comparable to Salim's situation or no?
Repeat that. What is it?
So the father has kids.
Yes.
And he marries a woman with kids.
Yes.
Can the father's kids breastfeed so there is a mahramiyah?
The father has kids and he marries a woman with kids.
Can the father's kids breastfeed from the new mother? So there's mahramiyah between the kids?
No, because that is not really like a present. That is an ordinary situation that would have been addressed already. That is not a pressing need in this regard. That is not like an orphan who doesn't have someone to take care of, like Salim, for instance.
So how would the father take care of, they'd essentially be not in the house?
Yeah, because they need to be, no, they could be in the house. Because, the possibility of khalwa needs to be ruled out. But otherwise, if they have different rooms, they could be in the same house. They will need to observe hijab in front of each other. However, that hijab does not have to be the full-blown hijab that you walk out in the street with. It could be a little bit more relaxed, but it is still a hijab. It is still a hijab. The one thing that you want to stop at is that if you really look at the fatwa of the Prophet ﷺ, like this one, for Sa, you will never find that the Prophet put Muslims in hardship. There were always, it is amazing. There are a couple of issues that are mushkil to me that needs to be further looked into. Such as when the woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him that, Mom, the hair of my daughter fell off. Could I, join it? Sort of provide extend it, yeah. It has a name or extended is the one?
Extensions or the name.
Yeah, extensions. Yeah. And then he said to her, no. But in this case, it makes it very difficult for me. It is unlike the fatwa of the Prophet. Unless he was saying no because of the possibility of deception. Because this hadith has a lot of variations. Some variations indicate that she was a potential bride, not a bride. So the Prophet feared that there would be some form of deception of the husband, and that is why he said no. But very few occasions where the Prophet ﷺ sort of broke someone's heart and became to seek some concession. You always found him finding an easy route somehow by providing calculated concessions, certainly nothing that would compromise the integrity of the deen or the objectives of the Sharia. But always, every time he was asked a question, he provided an easy answer, an easy fatwa. Unless it compromises the integrity of the Sharia. Well, certainly the Prophet ordered, the lashing of people and so on. But after exhausting all means to just, leave him alone. Don't say it. Even if we catch him and he runs, why haven't you left him? Let him run. And that is after establishment of proof. He told them, let him run. He tried to run away. But the proof was established by confession in this case. So if he runs away, that is recanting the confession. But he was always interested in, ease for the people. So when Abdullah, when he made all of the plants of the Medina, Mecca haram to pluck, Abdullah al-Abbas, his uncle, said to him, "Illa al-idkhir, ya Rasulullah," except for al-idkhir, ya Rasulullah, because they need it for, they used to make rooftops out of it. And then the Prophet ﷺ immediately said, "Illa al-idkhir," because if you point out the present need for idkhir, the concession will be there, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to cause us hardship in the religion. Anyway, so the next condition here for the radha to be prohibitive, Imam Ibn Qudamah said, أن يرتضع 5 رضعات لقول عائشة أنزل في القرآن 10 رضعات يحرم فنسخ من ذلك 5 فصار إلى 5 رضعات معلومات يحرمن فتوفي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والأمر على ذلك. Third, the number of breastfeedings must be 5. For Aisha's statement, radiallahu anha, it was revealed in the Quran, 10 breastfeedings shall cause prohibition. Then this was abrogated by 5. This was already a settled matter by the time of the messenger, or by the time the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam died. So that's an interesting hadith, because Aisha is saying that Ashra al-Radaat Yuharrim was actually part of the Quran, and this was abrogated to Khams Radaat, and we don't find this in the Quran, not even the Khams Radaat or the 5 breastfeedings. And she said that the messenger died after this matter was settled, which is the Khams. 5 feedings. So certainly, there's no problem with the Ashra Radaat, because Aisha already told us that this was abrogated. The problem with the Khams Radaat is that in some of the reports, Aisha said, فَتُوفِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَهُنَّ مِمَّا يُقْرَأُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Those verses, the Prophet ﷺ died while those verses are still being recited. And the way to reconcile this with the absence of those verses from the Quran is simple. Because when the Prophet ﷺ died, some Sahaba had not known of the abrogation yet, and they were still reciting the verses. So if you do not want to make it difficult, it would be easy to reconcile these things. It is very possible. Isn't it very possible? Some verses were taught, the Prophet taught the Sahaba certain verses, and they were later abrogated shortly before the Prophet ﷺ died. The news of the abrogation did not reach those Sahaba when the Prophet died, so they were still reciting the verses, not knowing that they were abrogated. Afterwards, they have come to know that they were abrogated, so they quit. And they have come to know that they were abrogated from the trustworthy Sahaba that were around the Prophet ﷺ and knew of the abrogation. But so that is Aisha's report here. This is a matter that is still controversial, because, as I said, the Hanafis and Malikis, may Allah show mercy on all of our great scholars who passed away and preserve those who are alive, had a different position. They said that one is enough. They used the generalities of the Quran and the Sunnah. Anything that would be called rada or breastfeeding would cause the restrictions. I can't hide it that I believe in the position of the Shafi'is and Hanbalis, which is 5, because of this hadith being a strong evidence for that position. And once again, I believe strongly in this position, but that does not mean that it is correct in itself. It means I believe it is correct, which is a huge issue. Once there is no consensus, don't jump in with your 2 feet. Just be careful, be cautious, because there is no consensus. So, tread the path carefully, cautiously, because there are hundreds of scholars, thousands of scholars from 2 major mazahib before you who sided with another position. So you just need to take it easy and believe in what you believe in strongly, but do not make it a matter of certainty, and certainly do not make it a matter of condemnation. Yes?
I'm a bit confused about the ability for a woman to produce milk. The book here, it makes me understand that whenever a woman needs to produce milk, she can, where in reality, this is not the case. When Rasulullah said, Arda'i or 5 radahat to make this, this is not available all the time, you know, or maybe I misunderstand. Can you elaborate on this?
It is not available all the time, except that nowadays we could give the woman prolactin and make her produce milk. But this is certainly not something that would have been available to them. They may have had natural remedies that helped, but I'm not quite sure if they were particularly effective. Yet when the Prophet said to the wife of Abu Huzaifa Arda'i or breastfeed him, he may have known that she was breastfeeding another child. Because they used to always have kids.
This is where I'm coming from. This is maybe makes this fatwa in particular for her because he knows her and he knows that she can produce milk, and this is something not like every day. That makes it like a special.
Apply this fatwa to any woman that has similar circumstances, and that is the position I believe in. But if you do not want to take that position, you will have a solid argument. If you want to say that this is a position, that this position is special for this particular family, and I would hold on to the position of the four imams, that it is only within the first 2 years of life, you will have a solid argument for your own practice. However, do not condemn a scholar who, for instance, gives a fatwa during the times of wars or something of that nature to Muslim families to take in the orphans regardless of their age and breastfeed them or provide them with breast milk so that we could have surrogate families for those infants. You can always, because this is, once we get to that point, we will be able to function as like a civil ummah. We can always believe strongly about our positions, but do not condemn a position that is plausible, that has any foundation, له حظ من النظر, has any foundation in the Quran or Sunnah, or even a rational foundation, and was upheld by some of the great scholars, because you may not be able to comprehend it. And that is extremely important for us Muslims. Whatever profession you are in, your own profession, are you like an engineer? Do you comprehend everything about your own specialty? No. What is your IQ? Is it 90? Hopefully not. It could be, but is there like 90, 110, 130, 150, 170? They said Einstein was 180. So do you think all people will comprehend everything the same way? Regardless of the stratified ranking of IQs, there are also viewpoints. You could have the same IQ, but have different viewpoints because of the different perspective, different orientations, different makeup, psychological makeup, cultural makeup, educational makeup, everything. So just respect your limitations, everybody of us. I begin by myself. We have to respect our limitations, respect our limitations, respect our limitations. I add this to your azkar every day. To say to yourself, Hatem, respect your limitations. Rahim Allah mra'an arafa qadra nafsih. May Allah have mercy on someone who knows his limitations. That's it. But no.
One thing. As a matter of principle, we do not consider this to be as part of al-hayal or loopholes or anything like that. Right?
But the hayal that were, so Muhammad ibn al-Hasan wrote a book, one of the disciples of Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, wrote a book called al-hayal, which would translate as tricks. right? Which will translate as tricks. Now, and certainly a lot of scholars of his time and after his time sort of rejected the concept and refuted it and so on. They were well-meaning and he was well-meaning. And there is a way to reconcile between their concern for the sort of the sacredness and preservation of the religion and his intent of providing ease to the recipients of fatwa, to the audience, without compromising the objectives of the Sharia. And that is the governing principle here. If you mean by al-hayal the tricks to sabotage the objectives of the Sharia, then they are condemnable, and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan would not be expected to want to do that, for sure. But if you mean by al-hayal that sort of like fiqhi smartness, the Prophet provided, Allah provided before the Prophet hila to Ayyub when he made an oath to lash his wife 100 times, and he told them to take like 100 branches and put them together and strike her once with them. So that is sort of like a hila that Allah provided His Prophet in the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ did provide people with concessions. So the hayal are two types: those that circumvent the objective of the Sharia and those that do not sabotage the objectives of the Sharia. One is good and one is bad. Yes. Okay. The next point here is the issue of laban al-fahl, which is the milk produced by conjugation between a man and co-wives. So, Imam Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah said, وَلَبَنُ الْفَحْلِ مُحَرِّمْ فَإِذَا كَانَ لِلرَّجُلِ امْرَأَتَانِ فَأَرْضَعَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا بِلَبَنِهِ طِفْلًا وَالْأُخْرَى طِفْلَةً صَارَ أَخَوَيْنِ لِأَنَّ النِّكَاحَ وَاحِدٌ. Okay. Which means the milk produced by conjugation between a man and co-wives causes restrictions. So if a man had two wives and one of them breastfeeds with the milk caused by him a male infant, and the other one breastfeeds a female infant, the two infants become a brother and a sister through breastfeeding. This is because the fertilizer, semen, is one. And from here on, consider these to be like fiqhi riddles to exercise your fiqhi mind. Because there will be a lot of riddles here from here on until the end of the chapter or before the end of the chapter. So here is a man who was married to two wives. She breastfeeds an infant boy, she breastfeeds an infant girl. They are brother and sister. They cannot marry one another. Okay? Is this clear? Move on.
But they are already.
Huh?
But they are already can't be married because they are from the same.
Yeah. No, they are just milk related to.
I saw that.
Yeah. And then the next one, وإن أرضعت إحداهما بلبنه طفلة 3 رضعات ثم أرضعتها الأخرى رضعتين صارت بنتا له دونهما فلو كانت الطفلة زوجة له انفسخ نكاحها ولزمه نصف مهرها ويرجع به عليهما أخماسا ولم ينفسخ نكاحهما. If one of them breastfeeds a female infant 3 times, okay. This is a female infant here, and one will feed the female infant 3 times, and one will feed 2 times. And we have to deal with this in the Hanbali madhab. They don't have to deal with this in the Hanafi madhab or the Maliki, because 1 time is enough. But some of those schedules are Hanbali and Shafi'i specific. So now he's saying that if he's married to 2 women, that one breastfeeds that girl 3 times, that one breastfeeds that girl 2 times. This one is not a mother for this girl. This woman is not a mother for this girl because none of them breastfed her 5 times. He is a father for this girl.
What about the children, his children? Are they like brothers or sisters of that child?
Yes. Through the father, I would say. Now, if this girl was married to this man, if this girl was married to this man, the infant, keep in mind, that is not a consummated marriage. It is not a consummated marriage. But if this girl is just out, so if this girl had an aqd with this man or a marriage contract with this man, then this and his 2 wives breastfed her 5 times, the aqd will be annulled. The marriage contract will be annulled because now she is his daughter. Now,
I think it was planned.
Okay, it was planned. And
Why did you?
yeah, so the 2 women may have done this to make her forbidden to him. He did not, Imam Ibn Qudamah, notice the precise usage. He did not say that she will be entitled to the whole dowry because it is not consummated. It is never consummated. There is never consummation with an infant in Islam. But we're talking only about contracts. So he said that this girl will be entitled to half of the dowry because separation before consummation entitles the woman to half of the dowry. And then he goes back and take it from his 2 wives because they are the ones who ruined it. And so he will take 3/5 of the half dowry from this wife and 2/5 from that one. Okay, the next one. And these are things that really exercise the fiqh mind. And the scholars, basically put forth 4 scenarios that happen in life, rare scenarios that happen in life, but they're training judges. Even in any law, when you train judges, you will need to address weird scenarios that happen in life, whether or not they sound reasonable to. ولو أرضعت إحدى امرأتيه الطفل 5 رضعات 3 من لبنه و2 من لبن غيره صارت أما لها وحرمت الطفل على الرجل الآخر على التأبيد وإن لم تكن الطفل امرأة له لم ينفسخ نكاح المرضع. If one of his 2 wives gave 5 breastfeedings to a female infant, with the milk of 3 being caused by him and the other 2 by another man. Then she becomes a mother to that infant, and both the mother and infant become unlawful to that husband, and the female infant also becomes unmarriageable to the other man. If the infant is not a wife of the man, then his marriage to the one who breastfed her is not voided. And, okay. So what is he saying here? Here is a husband and a wife. Okay. So while she is married to this man, to this man, she breastfed a child 3 times. Okay. Then she divorced that man, and then she divorced that man. And she went and married another man. And then, while married to this man, she breastfed that child 2 times. This child, by the way, that we're talking about, is married to this man. There is a marriage contract here between this child and that man. Okay. So, now, for that man, she's haram, mahram, and she is mahram. Why? Because although he is not the father of this girl, he's not the father of this girl, because his wife breastfed her twice while married to him, only twice, so he does not become a father. But his wife is her mother. His wife is her mother. So since his wife is her mother, and he consummated the marriage with that woman, she becomes a haram. Right? He was married to her. And now this woman will also become haram because she is the mother of his wife. Huh? But as the mother of the wife, it does not have to be consummated. If you marry a woman, her mother is immediately forbidden to you without consummation. Yeah. So this girl here, if she is not married to him, she becomes haram because his wife is her mother. 2 from him and 3 from another person. He's not the father, but his wife is the mother. So she becomes haram because she's the daughter of his wife. She is his stepdaughter, step-milk daughter. But if he was not married to her when his wife breastfed her, if he was not married to her, it does not make that woman haram for him. He could continue with this marriage. The reason why this woman became haram for him is that he was married to her, so this woman became the mother of his wife. And he cannot be married to the mother of his wife.
And then he can remarry after it's over.
No, he cannot remarry. They are both forbidden forever.
Both of them are forbidden forever?
Both of them are forbidden forever. This is not a matter of combining. Combining applies to sisters. Combining applies to a woman and his aunt. But between a woman and her mother, in both directions, it is محرمة على التأبيد. It is permanent prohibition. تحريم على التأبيد. Without any difference between the madhahib in this regard.
The order of the marriage is what is matter. If he is married to the mother first and he made a contract with the second, the second contract will be deleted and the first mother will stay. But if he is married first to the daughter and he married the mother, both of them will be haram.
No, but the order here does not really matter much, because at any point you cannot marry the mother of your daughter or the daughter of the mother. Yeah, you cannot marry the mother of your wife or the child of your wife.
But if he married to the mother and he made a contract with the daughter, the contract will be deleted.
If he's married to the mother and then he got contracted with the daughter,
He wants to marry the daughter.
he got contracted to the daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second marriage will be cancelled, but the first marriage will not be haram. According to this hadith.
No, he's saying here that if he was not married to this woman, this marriage is still halal. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. ولو تزوجت امرأة طفلا فأرضعته 5 رضعات حرمت عليه وانفسخ نكاحه أو حرمت على صاحب اللبن تحريما مؤبدا لأنها صارت من حلائل أبنائه. If a woman married a male infant and then breastfed him 5 times, then she becomes unlawful to him and their marriage becomes voided. She becomes unlawful to the man who caused the production of the milk, since she was once a wife of one of his children. Keep in mind that not only the man can have a contract with a female infant, the woman can have a contract with a male infant. So this scenario here, this woman is married to this man. This man got her pregnant, for instance. She has milk now. And then she breastfed with that milk a boy. After she divorced this man, she married this boy and breastfed him as well. Their marriage will be null because he becomes her child, her milk child. No?
After contracting?
Yeah, so she got married to that child and she breastfed him. The marriage is null. Can she go back and marry this man?
No.
Why?
Because that's her.
Father.
Is that her father-in-law?
Because she was at one point married to his son. Because that is now his milk son. Right?
Yeah.
At one point she was married to his son. Permanently forbidden. I don't know if... Can I let you guys go through the rest and you just... Because I know that there would be no way for me to keep you attentive through all the riddles. So... Why don't you read them, and the next time, if you have any difficulty understanding them, come back and talk to me, because a lot of people I'm already seeing that a lot of people are getting tired. The last point here, which is not very convoluted, is if he married a woman, then he said, she is my sister through breastfeeding, her marriage becomes null, and she is entitled to her sadaq, bridal dower, if he already consummated the marriage. If not, she would be entitled to half of the sadaq if she rejects his claim. If she acknowledged his claim before consummation, she will not be entitled to anything. If she is the one to say that he is her brother through breastfeeding and he rejects her claim and she has no proof, then she continues to be his wife legally. So, this man and woman are married to each other, are spouses. This man goes to the judge and says, I found out that she is my sister, my milk sister. Who is entitled to giving divorce? The man or the woman? The man, because he's the one who pays the dowry. So he is the one that is subject to financial loss. So if he is the one who's claiming that she is his breast milk, then their marriage is not immediately. Because that's what I need. You're claiming, you have the right, you have control of this relationship. Your claim basically voided your marriage. Now, she acknowledges his claim or approves it. She vindicates him, so he doesn't owe her anything. He does not need to give her anything. She rejects his claim. Then now we look at whether they consummate or not. Before consummation, she will get half of the dowry. After consummation, she will get the entire dowry. Is that clear? Clear. She went to the judge and claimed that her husband is her milk brother. She was unable to produce a proof that her husband was her milk brother. Now, if you say that you will accept this, that will be very easy for women. No one needs to go through khula or anything. You just go to the judge and claim that your husband is your milk brother. But it will not be accepted because, and otherwise it also will. And keep in mind, sometimes you don't think about the ramifications of these things because you don't think, of what people could do. But some women, if they have the ability to do this, she gets like a dowry from this man, and then she moves on and gets a dowry from another man, and then she claims that he was also her milk brother, and that could be a very profitable business. So no, it will not be accepted unless she produces a proof or he agrees with her. If he did not agree with her and she was certain that he is her milk brother, then she is required by God to try to do everything in her capacity to separate from him, including khula. She's required by God to try to do in front of the court. She can't get a divorce because she can't prove it. But she knows that he is her brother. So in front of God, she is required to do everything in her capacity to get away from this man, including asking for khula. And by this we would have ended that chapter on Rada. Any questions concerning the chapter of Rada? And like I told you, go through the rest of the fiqh riddles that are at the end of this chapter. If you have any difficulties, come back next time and ask, and we will explain them. But really, if I went through them, I would have put a lot of you to sleep. Yes?
If the man claims she's his sister from nursing, the marriage is dissolved.
Certainly.
No proof needs to...
Because you're claiming and you have the right. Yes.
But what if someone tries to use that, for example, to not have to pay the remainder of the mahr or things like this? Would that work?
No, because we would force him to pay the mahr.
He has to pay the mahr in full because there was consummation, irrespective of the reason of dissolvement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Irrespective of the reason. Keep in mind, if there was consummation and she agreed with the man that yes, he would have to pay the mahr still. Because the mahr here is haqq al-mar'a, even if the marriage has to be voided. She's entitled to the mahr after consummation. There is no one that can, keep that right from her. Once consummation happens, the mahr becomes lazim. So it is binding, done. Whatever happens in the future, the mahr is hers. Before consummation, nothing happened here. We just were contracted. I claim that she is my milk sister. She agrees. We tell you, separate. She's not entitled to anything. Because no consummation happened. I claim that she is my milk sister. She denies that. I have no proof. I would force the husband to pay her half of the dowry if consummation has not happened yet. Yes. And before you ask sister, what would constitute rada, a breastfeeding?
That's what I want to ask.
That is, yeah. It is once, yes, mushbi'at. It is once the child turns his head away. So the child breastfeeds until the child turns his head away and he doesn't want to eat. That's one rada. That's it. Yeah. You're giving him the bottle. He stops. You put the bottle. He doesn't. That's it. One rada. Yeah. So until the child loses interest in breastfeeding. Al-Kabir? They did not really address the issue with Al-Kabir, but it is, whatever he will drink at a time. So whatever he will, is sort of like a meal, a regular meal for him, would constitute a rada. They did not really address that issue for the Kabir, but a regular meal for him will constitute a rada.
If they added something to the milk, for example, and made maybe 40% of the substance.
Yeah, and we did not say this. The milk, any milk, breast milk, will be consequential. Two positions in the Hanbali madhab. One position is that the milk, like if you add a mixture of milk and orange juice, or milk and something else, if the milk is more than half, then by agreement within the Hanbali madhab, it counts as milk. But if it is less than half, the stronger position is that it will still cause tahreem as long as it has not become diluted to insignificance. Diluted to insignificance. No one will say this is milk. Everyone will say this is orange juice. Yes. And the next chapter, I don't know, I really wanted to finish this thing within 4 months, but it is, I don't know what is wrong.
It's heavy.
Huh?
It's a heavy subject.
Yeah. That's it. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.